What's up, everybody? Jackson Fuller here with Owen Hassell, and Owen, our four teams are down to two. We've got just two high school football teams left standing in the NCHSAA Playoffs, and if you'd have told me before the season it'd be Hanover and Hoggard, I'd have said, you're a smart man. Kind of a wild ride how we got here, though, with Hoggard having a tough regular season. But let's start with the Vikings. An impressive win last week, or this past Friday, in round two of the playoffs, 40-23 over Apex Friendship, and just a very good win for a Hoggard program that's used that this was their 8th straight year winning a playoff football game.
Yeah, how crazy is it that we're talking about a Hoggard team that scored 40 points, 40 plus points, I think, this past Friday. Hadn't done that since last year.
No.
That's, if you told me that before the season, it wouldn't happen in the game, I would have said you're crazy. That's just, once again, the wild ride, like you said, of Hoggard. But to be at this point now, to have that week last week off, must have meant a lot. It must have meant the world to Hoggard, to be able to retool some things, try some different wrinkles, knowing this is still a young team and these things will carry over, at least you think, hopefully, into 2020. And to come out and have that type of performance is great. And look at Hoggard. Third round. Where was Hoggard last year? Third round with the talent Hoggard had last year that's not back.
Right.
This year, same position, going up against Wake Forest, of course, which is going to be a heck of a tough road. But right now, it's got to be like gravy. Right now, it's got to be, you want to keep winning. You don't want to lose, but this has got to be a great tail into the season, at least, that Craig Underwood can show people that follow Hoggard, hey, we've made improvements. We had injuries. We had all these things. Not making excuses, and look what's happened.
Right, and look, there's no way that you can. Or you have to say things bounced their way a little bit in the playoffs. Getting a first round bye, playing a team in Apex Friendship who before this season had never won a playoff game. They got a favorable draw in the second round, but hey, all season things did not go their way. Injuries to Garrett Manning and Jordan Rickey, who are expected to be their two best players. Gabe Johnson, the quarterback, didn't necessarily take that big step forward that we thought we were expecting this season. And the sophomore Sam Jones was the one that started and played Friday night and looked. And I wasn't there, but Noah Powers, who covered that game for us, said he looked great. He gave them an extra dimension, being able to run the football. Noah said he also texted me. He's like, has Hoggard's offense just been bad all season? Because everyone in the press box is so surprised with what's going on right now. And the answer is yes, and look, so some things are going to go your way, but some things are not. Coach Underwood had a tweet kind of like that. He's been on the wrong side of some playoff draws. They got a favorable one, but you're right. This is a program that just all they do is win. They win a game in the playoffs. They make some good runs. They're in the third round. We'll talk about that Wake Forest game in just a little bit. But they are this. You're right. It's a good win for Hoggard, not only this season, but just building forward, building this program. The big game of last week was over at Legion Stadium, New Hanover hosting West Brunswick for the second time. That was the game that I covered, and the Wildcats came away with a 21-7 victory over the Trojans, much closer than that final score indicates. It was 14-7 with about 4 minutes left, and West Brunswick had a chance to march down the field and tie the game. There were times on Friday night where West Brunswick had a chance to march down the field and take the lead early in the second half. New Hanover's first two drives of the third quarter ended in blocked punt and interception deep inside their own territory, but the Wildcats defense stood tall. That was the story I wrote for Sunday's newspaper, a little second-day feature, just how impressive the New Hanover defense was in those difficult spots. And look, they haven't given up more than 7 points since non-conference action. The New Hanover defense, I don't know if it's as good as the West Brunswick defense, but it's right up there, and it proved it yet again Friday night.
Something we said was West Brunswick needing to win that turnover battle. Of course, it's always good to win the turnover battle. And getting those turnovers, this was a chance for West Brunswick. Here were opportunities for West Brunswick. Just couldn't quite cash in. So some things fell into place for West Brunswick that maybe didn't in the first game. But once again, yes, the New Hanover defense, that's the story. That's been the story more often than we would have imagined before the year started, especially seeing how this defense has had some struggles the past couple of years, even when it won a state championship.
Right.
You could see its struggles, but right now, that is probably the most impressive thing for me to see in the Mid-Eastern Conference this year. If I had to pick one thing, yes, West Brunswick's great year, Coach Brett Hickman, what the Trojans have done, but New Hanover's defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to be something that I believe is going to be tested against Grace Creek.
Yeah, it absolutely will. I will say, real quickly on West Brunswick before we kind of jump into the next round of the playoffs. Coach Hickman's always great for some insight, either after or before games, and he said, "Look, we've lost on one field all season long. Their only losses came to New Hanover at Legion Stadium." And he knew when he took the job, 20 months ago, they had some catching up to do. This year, they caught up defensively with the rest of the league. They haven't caught up offensively. He knows that, and that's the next step for West Brunswick is to build up both sides of the ball where you can compete because that West Brunswick offense, it just couldn't get anything going on the ground. And with that, wing T look, that's so important. I will say when they did open it up and have to throw the ball, they had one drive where they marched down the field and scored a touchdown. And with that, let's segue into Grace Creek, New Hanover, Friday after Thanksgiving. Grace Creek's the 14 seed. They're 9-4. They've already had 2 upsets so far in the state playoffs. 62 passes all season. They've got 3 running backs with at least 900 rushing yards. So for New Hanover, yes, that defense is going to be tested, but I think they'd rather face a team that likes to run the ball than one that likes to air it out because their strength is probably up front and the really quick defensive linemen and linebackers. And if there is one weakness, not even a weakness, but an area that maybe other offenses think they could take advantage of New Hanover, it's passing the football. But this Friday night, if New Hanover can stop the run, if they can stop the run against Grace Creek, they're probably going to win the football game.
But here's what's so great about that, too. If you have a New Hanover scout team the defense can work up against, it's New Hanover's offense.
Yeah.
There are a lot of similarities, I would think, here.
Mm-hmm.
So all season, you've seen in practice an offense you've gone up against that does probably a number of the same things. So that's going to be a lot of nice familiarity, especially in the third round of the postseason. Grace Creek, I think the lowest seeded team still in all of the playoffs right now, 14 seed. But I will caution against any of that if New Hanover fans are thinking it's going to be a cakewalk into the regional final. One, it's the third round. Everybody's good at this point. Now you've weeded out any teams with losing records, whatever, and teams that got lucky draws, whatever you want to talk about with that. But remember Pinecrest and Hoggard last year, third round. Hoggard's supposed to, Hoggard's going to win that easily. They'll be in the regional final against Wake Forest, no problem. And look what happened there. So I'm sure Dylan Dimick and company are making these guys know that Grace Creek's here for a reason. They're playing their best football at the right time. And I believe this is going to be a tough contest.
Yeah, and Grace Creek, from what I can tell, they've gotten a little healthier as the season's gone along, especially on the offensive line. The guy to watch for them is Jerry Garcia Jr., number 5. He's their running back, their star running back. He's got over 2,000 yards this season on the ground. Yes, similar to New Hanover, they have 3 really talented running backs. They do a little bit of different things offensively, where it's more of a wing T look instead of pro set, I guess, but. You're right. The ability of New Hanover and defense to go up every day against a team that can put 3 guys on the field who all can touch the football and go the distance, that's a strength. You
said Jerry Garcia Jr. That's his name.
That's his real name, Jerry Garcia Jr.
All I can think of is obviously what he's probably heard a million times: Grateful Dead.
Yep.
And the touch of gray,
yep.
Grace Creek.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll stop now. Let's get back to the football.
It's fine. I knew that was coming when I wrote his name down here. One thing about Grace Creek, I will say, they've given up 37.5 points per game in their 4 losses. So if New Hanover is going to win this game, the offense has an opportunity to have a great night coming off of a little bit of a struggle against West Brunswick, but still 21 points against the Trojans defense. Not a lot of teams have scored 3 touchdowns against them all season, so not up to the high standards New Hanover's offense has for itself. But it's still an overall good night. That game's at 7:30, Legion Stadium. I'll be there covering that one at Star News Varsity on Twitter for updates. Real quickly, also on Grace Creek, their playoff wins against Southern Durham and Southeast Guilford are 2 programs with a lot of history. So, that's impressive. And now they get a third one with New Hanover. Hoggard, we mentioned they're going to face Wake Forest. The Cougars have won 3 straight state championships. They've lost 1 game in the past 4 seasons. It came week 1 of this year to Cardinal Gibbons. It's obviously a tough hill to climb for Hoggard this week, but this isn't, when you look around the area and kind of trying to do a little bit of research, it seems like this isn't as strong of a Wake Forest team as years past. in general, the 4AA East feels not as strong as in years past. That a lot of people have said this season, a 4AA West, the champion might come from there, but even if it doesn't, there's like about 10 teams in there that are like almost as good as the top two, in the 4AA East. So I think it's funny too. Wake Forest and Grays Creek are kind of similar. They both have multiple running backs, a little wing T offense. But for Hoggard, you said it. This is an opportunity to go play a defending state champion, show what you're capable of, show what you can do in the playoffs, and build for the future. If this is a loss, if it's not a loss, you're shocking the entire state and putting yourself in an Eastern Regional Final.
If you're Hoggard, think back to Scotland. Think back to Carolina Forest. Mm-hmm. These games that you played some really difficult competition and struggled mightily, which people expected to some degree week 1, week 2, some new faces and all, but show the growth. Show the growth between week 1 and week 2 and week 3, third round of the playoffs. This is your chance to do that, to show we're definitely not that team in August. Mm-hmm. Here's the team we are now, even though it's November, but it's the right time now to do it. Wake Forest might be just slightly not the Wake Forest that we remember the last couple of years, but I think it's still
very
slight.
Yes.
I don't know what the slight. Would it be like that much? I'm not quite sure, and especially when you look at it from Hoggard's perspective, being an underdog as it is. How much has Hoggard's offense tweaked to really show something this Friday? That will be interesting. Like doing that at home after a week off against a team that has next to no playoff experience and maybe jumping on early is one thing. Right. But doing it at Wake Forest in the third round, Wake Forest is very well aware of how to win state championships. Absolutely. That's going to be another, and I think win or lose for that, it's going to give Hoggard a lot of things to look at and evaluate going into 2020.
You say you look at the Scotland game. Why not go back even further? Look at the Scotland game from 2 years ago when Hoggard was on the road facing a team with, that was a clear favorite to be state champions that year, that Scotland County team. Everyone said that's the best team in the state. You went down there, you fell behind early, you made a big run and came back. I think, Craig Underwood and this current Hoggard staff have proven, last year they lost to Pinecrest, you mentioned, but they're Gabe Johnson got hurt early in that game. They've proven in big-time games they normally can come up with a good enough game plan to keep Hoggard in it and have a chance to win despite whatever circumstances are going on around them. Obviously, that didn't happen in the New Hanover game, and they struggled early on, but they were a young team. What can the coaches and players put together here to try and pull a surprise upset? Look, nobody really expected that. I don't think many people across the state or the area expected a Hoggard team coming off a loss to Topsail and a really bad loss to New Hanover to beat Apex Friendship in the first round. They did just that. I know Craig Underwood likes to kind of take his guys. They go to visit NC State when they go down to Raleigh schools and play these playoff games, making an experience for the kids. So we mentioned a couple times, this is, no matter what happens Friday night, this is positive for the Hoggard program winning a game and going to face the number one team in the East.
I get what you're saying, but as a coach said one time when he was coaching the Celtics and things were bad, Josh Jones isn't walking through Wayne Rogers Fieldhouse come back and play. Isaiah Kemp ain't walking back through Wayne Rogers Fieldhouse to come back and play. Chris Tootle, so you had some guys, because that Scotland game 2 years ago, Scotland got off to a huge lead, but you had a passer like Josh Jones that could get you back into it. Right. And if Hoggard had won that game, it would have been one of the most amazing comebacks in the last 5 or 10 years of the high school playoffs, the way it would have come down to what it did, playing at Scotland Regional Final, all the stakes on the line. You still got to have those guys. It's still about the Jimmies and Joes, right? As much as the X's and O's.
They can't get behind. And they can't fall. If Hoggard falls back by more than 2 touchdowns.
No, its best defense will probably have to be its offense to really grind things out and take off a lot of time. And if it's a low-scoring game by mid-third quarter, you're in this.
Right, and that's the opportunity Hoggard has. Lean on Jack Thomas, let Sam Jones run the football, keep control of the ball, try and keep that Wake Forest defense on the field if they can do that. And like you said, you're in the third quarter in a close game, you've got an opportunity, but you fall behind. I don't know how much firepower Hoggard has to get back in this one against Wake Forest. But we'll see as always. The Noah Thomas, who used to be a stringer for us last year, living down in the Raleigh area, is going to cover that game. It's been so long since I've shouted out Noah Thomas, I cannot remember his Twitter handle off the top of my head. Just check back in Star News Online, on our website and in print on Friday. We'll be handing out his Twitter handle and where you can follow along for updates if you're interested. As always, thank you guys so much for listening. 2 teams left in the playoffs. We'll mention Whiteville was a loser, 42-28 to Southwest Edgecombe last week. Great season and great careers for Ty Moss and Javante Davis come to an end. But Hoggard and Hanover, no real surprise when you take a step back. But if you know anything about how this season's gone for the Vikings, it is a little bit surprising in the third round. But this is what they do. We'll see how both of these 2 teams fare the Friday after Thanksgiving. Everyone enjoy your Turkey Thursday. Eat enough stuffing for Owen and I, and we'll see you again next week, hopefully, and talk regional final action with 1, 2, maybe both of these teams. We'll see. Have a good one.